Everyone, welcome back to another exciting session of Digital Week Online. Yes, this is a high energy crowd here over in Los Angeles because we got my buddy, Miguel Francis-Santiago from The Future Is Now, esteemed auteur, filmmaker, communications specialist, who I have gotten to know and seen on the crypto and other speaking circuit. So we're a little bit short on time, so I don't want to eat his. I'm just going to pass the microphone right to him. Miguel, welcome, my friend. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gordon. Yes, it's great to be here. Thanks so much to the organizers for creating this Digital Week Online. Our second time here, and our 60-minute co-hosting session, which I thought I'd be hosting, but it's you again, Gordon.
No, it's all yours. Just talk. Hold on. Because you're so cool, I'm turning off my microphone. I'm turning off my video. It's all you.
No. But essentially, we are having an hour on image making and global public relations, and I'd like to talk about the journey that we've taken as a company over the last 2.5 years now in the disruptive tech space, as we've expanded now to beyond just blockchain. And it all started with this idea of cinematic branding and digital marketing. And my presentation is about cinema for blockchain implementation into socio-economic growth. And it all started as I was transitioning from political science and journalism and essentially the depths of info war, if you will, working with RT, having my films released on an international news network. And then I transitioned away from politics into blockchain, and I spearheaded blockchain media on an RT show, Cryptolium, in 2018, right around the major Bitcoin hype, when it essentially went from 1,500 all the way to 20,000 in a short, brief 4-month period. And it all started then. And as we've expanded, we decided to pull away from centralized news networks and create decentralized media, which is The Future Is Now Network, The Future Is Now Media Group. So we're going to go to slide number 2. And really talk about the idea of cinematic branding, which is emotions and feelings, and it's what truly connects people. And cinema is the art that captures these tools, and when combined with disruptive tech space, it creates a new avenue for visual marketing and image making in that space. And from our little film, which is a TV series, evidently same name TV series called The Future Is Now Film, our whole media group, the consulting arm, the tech audit and analysis, which we now do for most of our partners and clients as well as the consultancy arm, which includes everything from starting at a foreign jurisdiction, third world countries, etc., listing on exchanges and whatnot. All that derived from this essential concept of well-thought scripted cinematic image making combined with global public relations, creating something that is bigger than an explainer, something that really sticks in your hearts and minds. And that's what we've been doing as we began our journey. Our executive team consists of Mark Hamade, our COO and president, the head of consultancy, our CTO, Vlad Antonov, who is also the head of analytics, tech audits, and market analysis reports that we do for our email lists, which you could sign up at thefutureisnow.community and enjoy an exclusive market analysis where for the last 2.5 years, at least, Vlad has predicted pretty much all the major market trends, including this whole shebang of DeFi. And much of that is also on our website at Market Analysis for you to enjoy. We've covered and scaled the image and brands of various conference platforms, from the Block Show to Malta Blockchain Summit with Iman Poulis at its inception, as well as the Futurama Blockchain Innovators Summit. Our latest films include Sigma, the world of iGaming, our first dive into the iGaming industry, where we also began providing affiliate marketing and image making services and consulting there. And our latest piece, which was shot in 2020, right on the brink of COVID, a very fun watch. You could watch it on our YouTube, on our website right now, is Chain 2020 Conference, filmed in Hong Kong, literally 5 days before COVID-19 became international news. So some of the people that we work with include Toda, Skycoin, Belega, SafeX, Coinsbank, To the Moon, of course, AIBC Summit, Sigma, and many more. We featured exciting guests in our films that are truly the market makers and the thought leaders of our space. And my presentation is focused upon the story that I derived from that experience, from that 2.5-year filming experience, which you could watch on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/thefutureisnow. It started with Larry King, funnily enough. In episode 3 is really when I caught on that emotions and feelings are the connecting tools. As I mentioned before, people and concepts and communities are built based on those emotions. And of course, cinematic and visual branding, again, help create a unique way to showcase these new industries, these new technologies that are ever so decentralized and ever so life-changing. And Larry King saying that, why do we have war, right? I'm in this because I want people to understand that this technology can help us prevent war. And this was interesting as Crypto Larry King episode 3 was really diving into that at the Blockchain Futurist Conference with essentially this man, Larry, right, going into this disruptive space because he believes that it's good to be on the good side, on the innovative side of history. And really, it all starts with problem reaction solution, as we see with today's global events, with COVID, with the elections, with Cambridge Analytica. All of these things are about problem reaction solution, where we are given a problem, then we are asked for a certain reaction and offered a certain solution that is not always beneficial to us as the people of the planet Earth. So why should someone no different than you and I be in control of your destiny? That is the question I ask. And how do we break from this dogma of this matrix? And for me, the answer is decentralization. It's about decentralizing control, spreading into micronations and micro communities, and really being the deciders of your own future, not having to be forced to do anything, from wearing a mask, etc., because of a certain problem, reaction, solution event. And really, the blockchain fits here because people, government, and institutions are still afraid of blockchain, even to this day. They're afraid of crypto, from the SEC to your grandma. They don't understand it, and they feel threatened by it. And because it breaks their cyclical, dogmatic, boring construct of this matrix, of this life. It truly is so, and I think we will talk more on that with some of our panelists that will join us in the second half of this hour. The future is now gathering to discuss this further. Really, John McAfee said it best. In 5 years' time, those who don't use crypto are those that don't have access to the internet. And as we see John McAfee going to jail right now for his alleged tax evasion, there are reports by the International Consortium of Financial Journalists revealing facts about the New York Bank of Mellon, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, channeling huge sums, billions of dollars, not just for OneCoin, a world-renowned scam project, but also for drug traffickers, also for shady governments, for terrorist groups, literally sending and covering those financial trades. And only 1% of that is ever revealed to the modern to the public space, I should say. So that's really the sad reality that even though John McAfee could be a controversial figure and quite a flamboyant one for sure, and yes, he is going to jail for not wanting to pay to someone who decided that he needs to pay someone something to essentially live a life he has not chosen to live in a country he has not chosen to live. So these are interesting concepts. They're quite of course, anarchist-like, and really that's what crypto anarchism is about at the end of the day. Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, said it also a very interesting way, where this technology for him has revolutionized his understanding of the banking and the financial world. If he was in government, he said, he'd fire 90% of the Mexican government right now, because he believes that those people are not trained to do the jobs they are there to do. And for him, this was, of course, a life-changing time in 2018, as I was at the Blockchain Economic Forum in Singapore talking to him. Akon picks up that thought much later in 2019 at the foundation, at the AIBC's summit in Malta, where he says that the old leaders will have to understand that they cannot stop this. the basic dynamics of evolution. Yes, they can continue to try, but it's only a matter of time before this technology comes through and rolls them over. Or they will die off, just like human evolution shows us they will, and the young will introduce it anyway. And Toufi Saliba said it quite nicely as well, that the email came and did not ask for permission, right? The email just said, I'm 99.999% more efficient. And that's it. You know, this is a similar analogy with blockchain. Why should we be asking for permission? But the point I'm trying to make here is that, especially in this post-COVID world with, you know, of course, the shady players going away fast, the space is really becoming powerful and it's cleaning itself out. You know, we see BitMEX, Arthur Hayes facing 5 years of jail for market manipulation, etc. You know, the founder of OKEX was just arrested today somewhere in Asia. We're going to break that news story as well at thefutureisnow.community. Make sure to check it out. Just overall, you know, the TON network, Telegram, you know, got stopped and halted. Libra halted. We had EOS just recently sued for millions of dollars. You know, the pressure is there. You know, this old world is not too keen on having us, the disruptors, come in. And Guy Kawasaki, as part of that, I would not any disrespect to Guy, but that sort of dinosaurism of the Silicon Valley, told me at the D10E Silicon Valley 2018 that if I build a phone and I create value, I get paid for that value. But what do I do here with crypto? I take it to the bank? That's bullshit, he said. Great TV moment. I definitely, you know, use that for the best of my show. But just to show you that one of the first evangelists of the Macintosh computer thinks that way, that's something to consider. And last thing I want to focus on, because I know we're running out of time, is the locus of control is based on a lie. According to Brandon Sinf, another decentralized futurist, the founder of Skycoin at the Blockchain Cruise Mediterranean episode of our show, said that we're going to change the locus of control from corporations like Google, Yahoo, YouTube, and Twitter, and it's going to shift back down to the community, to the individual level. And that's going to be disruptive. And I believe, he says, that we might have a civil war. This transition will not be without violence. And it's interesting to see the big tech censorship we're having right now on the Republican Party in America. Perfect example of that. I mean, unbelievable censorship. And this gentleman said that this will take place a little over than a year ago, you know, at the Blockchain Mediterranean Cruise. So it's interesting how a lot of these disruptors are truly keen on what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's what it's like about being futurist. Now, I don't have time, unfortunately, to go through the whole thing because this keynote is more of a 30-minute keynote than a 10-minute keynote. But, you know, Tim Draper, Michael Turpin, very exciting information. And Carla Marie Vela truly gave us the answer. What must we do for mass adoption? You know, that at the end of the day, it's really about marketing, truly and purely about marketing, reaching the people, and that will lead to mass adoption. You know, selling a dream, like in the gambling space for her, selling opportunity, that's going to lead to the mass adoption. We have to truly bank the unbanked and create value, create decentralized healthcare on the blockchain, voting on the blockchain, and all these great things. And that's really how we realize that we want to participate in that as a 5-step process of tech audit and analysis, image making, global public relations, and digital marketing, and of course, consultancy being the 5th. That is our full circle proposition to the space. Our media network partner reach includes quite a lot of publications, from Entrepreneur to Forbes to Cointelegraph to The Bitcoinist, etc. Our recent use cases include the US presidential campaign visuals for Brock Pierce 2020, where we were commissioned by Brock and his team to create a series of social media videos and a main documentary-like visual branding video for the campaign, a 6-minute video. It could be found on his website and on the campaign page. And we do support Brock in many of his policies and ventures. And we're still waiting for that big policy so we can fully dive in there with the presidential campaign. Our clients and partners include Iman Poulis of Sigma, Irina Heaver of Emerex, Kieran McLeod of Longtail Financial, let's see, Daniel Dabik of SafeX, To the Moon Game with Lev Lehman. Again, all that can be seen on our website. And what I'd like to pass the reins to Mark Hamade, who can explain further how we combine the image making with actual analytical evaluation and strategic assessment, and of course, consultancy to create the strategic perspective, the bottom line results, and truly in a symbiotic relationship, scale our partners, their brand, their product, their image, and their reach, and of course, their community. That's also going to kind of lead us into the second half hour, which is our panel coming up, and that's about how to properly build a community in today's market, in today's reality, to ensure a proper success of a project, a disruptive tech project, in today's market. So I will finish with that. I don't have the time, unfortunately, to go through all of our amazing CPM and CPC rates for various traffic options that we do as far as digital marketing, which is essentially part of this keynote. But again, all of that can be found by contacting us directly at media@thefutureisnow.community. And on that good note, I'd ask the team at the Digital Week Online to please play the video to kind of give the viewers a little idea of what we mean by creating a scalable image. Thank you so much. I'm Miguel Francis-Santiago. Let's change the world for the better.
Why are you here? Why are we here? And to be conscious of the things you do and say, I'm doing this because.
During this COVID madness, we kind of recrossed paths.
Always asking yourself why. You don't do things just because you can. You do things because you should. Why do you play the game? How are you measuring or scoring yourself in this game? Because to some degree it is choose your own adventure. I choose impact, positive impact. And I measure my success in this life based upon the positive impact I'm having in the world. But we are all free to choose why we play the game.
Yeah, it is. They can hear us, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I had 30 minutes for the full keynote.
All of it, and your YouTube channel is great. Like you mentioned, we're gonna pass the reins to your colleague and cohort, Mark Hamade, also a friend of mine. Mark, great to see you. Where in the world are you right now?
Oh, I am international right now. So
You're in international? Is that a place?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm jealous. I'm in Studio City, and much less glamorous, I guess.
Yes.
You know what? Just to give you your time, I'm gonna hand it to you, and
okay.
Let's hear you out.
Okay, all right. So hello, I'm Mark Hamade, Future is Now President and COO. I just want to let everybody know my dad recently had a stroke, so please remember your family, remember those people that you love, and appreciate them. It's very critical. There's a lot of things that we do, and from a consulting and a standpoint, there is no manual to becoming number one. That doesn't exist. But we're able to help you, whether it's personal development, getting your business going, whatever it is. So I would say your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth or ability. So we're able to help that. We're able to help you become a leader, from leadership talent to operations to excellence. Commitment ignites action. So what we look for, and what I like to look for, is what is the problem that you're dealing with? And then we kind of cut wood from there and help you get there. That's really important and imperative. So that could be execution and responsibility and accountability within your business, or it could be with you. And so that is very, that's incredibly critical. And get the pitfalls out. You have to be confident. But there's this concept of people saying, fake it till you make it. I don't believe in that concept. I don't believe in having fake stuff. I believe in reality. And so how do we get there? Warren Buffett became who he is by getting excellent leadership at Geico. Geico does good insurance. He felt, let me get good leadership. And he became a billionaire. So in blockchain, crypto, whatever your business is, if you have development, if you have something good, but you have all these problems around them, we can help you work those through to succeed. Now, if you have bullshit and crap, excuse my French, no, I can't help you there, but we can help you find a developer that can do it right. And so that is, very important. So whenever I meet with somebody, everything has to be fixed. I recently worked with a neurologist, making $1 million, has the house, everything. Everything's done right, but he's depressed and wants to kill himself. Okay? So you can have the money, you can have everything, and that could be that. Or everything else could be a mess. So whatever it is, we can put a plan and put a manual in to help you succeed. I'll end there so that way we can catch up.
You know what, Mark, you're a giver. Miguel, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that, with the consultancy that Mark, his experience, which is really a vast experience of 20 plus years, 800 million in overall value for companies, to turnarounds, etc. From executive coaching to actual strategy consultancy, where I think Mark plays a crucial role in that whole pillar, let's just say, manner that we create, which is really taking a company from the sunrise to sunset and doing that with excellence. And it's a symbiotic partnership is what I want to stress, where we want to grow together. So it's always us staking our reputation into anything we touch and do. And that is essentially where our CTO, Vlad Antonov, the next presenter here, comes in with tech audit analysis, which we do specifically for companies that we work with. That ensures us a way to essentially make sure that we are working with people that have potential, that don't have any shady background, etc. And at the same time, it ensures it gives us an opportunity to help the project from their development side, from their technological tech documentation side, from their community side, and build out the whole image making strategy, the visual branding, the cinematic branding, what I spoke about, and the consultancy, of course, which is really the goals, the pains that need to be fixed, together with that base that Vlad creates. Another thing that Vlad and a team of analysts under him create for us monthly is our exclusive to our email list only, for which you can sign up at thefutureisnow.community, a monthly market analysis report, which is a really in-depth, fundamental on-chain and beyond analysis of what's happening in the overall financial space, from the influence of the US elections to everything that's happening in Southeast Asia and beyond. So Vlad, welcome. Please take it away. This is Vlad Antonov, the CTO of the Future is Now Media Group.
All right. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes. Oh, wow. I didn't know you have the same share like me, except white. Love it.
All right. So I will start. I'll basically dive directly to the topic. So first of all, like what makes a good project, right? Because I'm in the field since 2016 in blockchain field, and I have seen over hundreds or thousands of projects by this time. And like, to be honest, I'll be frank, like 95 to 98% of them is trash. Like, if that would be traditional markets, they wouldn't even make to VC. And that's why a lot of them actually went to crypto space, because they wouldn't get funding otherwise. So, but a lot of people, when they look for those projects, they don't have enough knowledge what to look at to determine whether the project can have some potential, or it's a scam, or whether it's just a bad project. Because a lot of people say that crypto space has full of scams, and it's true, but it's more about incompetency of developers, and there's a lot of really like bad project rather than the actual scams. So if you look at CoinMarketCap, they have such an option called snapshots, like to see historically the projects. If you look at top 10 projects in 2015 or 2016, most of those projects are either not around, or they're not even top 10 anymore. They can be top 80, top 90. So that means that even if the project stays like on the top 10 by market capitalization or by developer activity, that doesn't really mean that the project will be still around next year or in the following years. So I'm not going to go over typical things like, hey, look at team, if the project is hyped or not, or what's their product. I want to talk more about the things that people tend to overlook or they don't pay enough attention to. So first of all, let's see whether the project targets unique niche, or it already works on some, whether it's an existing niche or it's a unique product. So let's say if it's an existing niche and there already existing services like that. So first of all, you need to see, why would anybody want to change the current service or the platform, right? What's the incentive for users, and what's the incentive for developers to do that? So for example, we have some platforms like Ethereum, and then we have another competing platforms that say, hey, we're doing better than Ethereum. We can offer better TPS, or some other better characteristic for developers, more languages. So the first question would be, okay, that's all good, but the practice shows that people still tend to stick to the project which they used to, and just because you have something better in theory or even in practice, that doesn't mean that the project will take off. So you need something more than that. So you need to create an incentive that will attract developers and customers. So this is very important balance, because sometimes you might create incentive to create to attract developers. But there is a problem with that, because when developers come, they create product, but there are no customers. Okay, yeah, you made a cool product, but nobody uses it. Who cares? The same thing with customers. Sometimes you invite only customers, but they come and there are only 3-4 applications working on that platform, right? Let's say the reason why people are using right now Ethereum so much, or at least for the past 3-4 months, is because of DeFi hype. And all of the, not all, but 90-something% of all DeFi applications, they're built on Ethereum platform. And that's why people use Ethereum platform. And let's say if you go to Tron or some other product, they could work better, they could handle it better, but people still stick to Ethereum. So just because you have a better project, that doesn't mean that people will go there. So that's something, when you research the project, you need to see what's the incentive, like how you're gonna take the customers from your competitors and developers also. So the other thing, what I like to look at, whether it's really decentralized. So let's say we're talking about some blockchain platform that does the money transfer, something like PayPal. And if it's not really like decentralized, if it's totally centralized platform, then my question is, okay, why not use PayPal then? Like, it's also centralized, and PayPal is still much better in terms of, like, I can reverse my transactions, I can dispute transaction if I get scammed, and things like that. I can still kind of reach out to somebody. So if the project is still like centralized in terms of who owns the tokens and has control over blockchain, then I would rather use the traditional, and that's what average people will also do. Now,
Vlad, let me ask you. So let me kind of lead this through. So, what would you say are the top 3 qualities that a project, from your analytical standpoint, has to consider? And this will obviously lead us into the panel that we're about to have with our guests. Some of which include the panel. Some of which include some of the stuff we're talking about. Also, can I ask, just to make sure that we are pinning Vlad, since it is his keynote to either Elizabeth or Juliet or Gordon, whoever is the host of the room.
Hey, just whoever speaks gets highlighted on YouTube, and I can see you on YouTube right now speaking.
Oh, okay, great.
So you're good.
So Vlad, just to sort of kind of come to an end shortly, tell us about the 3 things that you believe are some of the most important things that a project, from an analytical standpoint, needs to have for you to see. And also tell us a little bit about the market analysis report from the, actually, you know what, let's leave that out since I already spoke about that. Talk about the analytical scripting, how you and what you do with our analytics department is really essential to creating the right demographical, the right analytical scripting for a lot of the visuals that we do.
All right. So I like to look at the data basically, and their pillar data that I look at is the daily active addresses when I analyze the project. So, for example, you have a big project that claims that they're used by corporations and everyone. But in reality, when you look at daily active addresses, you might see that there are only like 20 active addresses that make 5 transactions per day, and it's also very good to determine the future price, because if the price keeps growing while the address activity remains the same, it means that the price goes ahead of the actual project growth and development. So that's one of the characteristics. Another is network growth. Network growth is basically how many new addresses are added to the blockchain. So let's say if you have 100 addresses this year and 50 more addresses next year, that's very slow growth. So that's a bad indicator. Or you had 10 addresses this week and then 1,000 next week. That's a cool growth. Now, frequency of updates. It has a high importance, because frequency of updates indicates that developer team is involved and it's working on something, because in the IT world there is always something to work on. It will never happen that you're done with the project and that's it. You constantly need to patch or fork something. So the frequency of updates, that also can be tracked. You can either check manually, or you can use the software, analytical software, to see how often actual developers upload the programs, not just put in comments, but actually made the changes in the code. And I look at also token distribution, how well distributed is token, because I see a lot of tokens where you would have like 90% belongs to a team and affiliates and stuff, and only 10% out in the market. So that's regarding the market data. And to answer your first question, one of the most important things that I look at, and that's actually something that I almost never hear in blockchain space, that's customer service. And I'll tell you why. A company that plans to build a long-term client base is likely to invest in its customer service. If the company doesn't plan to invest in a customer service, it means it doesn't really have long-term plans. Because when you build a company, it's very, very important to build relations with your customers. So you build partnership, and not those partnership that you just put a banner on your website type of partnership. I'm talking about real partnership, and that's why you always need to provide the best customer service. And I can see that a lot of shady projects, they don't have a good customer service. Another thing that would be legal, and I know we have legal experts that will talk more about it, but even none of us are like, except actual lawyers or legal experts. What we can always do is to check the registration. There are a lot of like let's say it's an offshore company and they claim to be registered in one of the Caribbean companies. Actually, there are governmental websites of those countries, and you can search for the company on their website. So you can actually go ahead and check whether the company is actually registered. So that's very important, because a lot of these companies are not even registered there.
Wow, great points all across. We're pressed for time. I just want to ask you for a brief answer to analytical scripting and how your department's particular development here really ties into our products at the Future Is Now Media Group.
Can you give like more detail on your question?
So the analytical scripting that goes behind scripting some of these visual products and overall our 5-pillar strategy.
Got it. All right. So we do, first of all, research the demographics, because we want to determine who's going to watch this, video, what approach to take. So let's say we determine, okay, millennials are more likely to watch it, right? Then we're going to build the video within these demographic groups. Then whether it's going to hit more male or female auditory, or what political beliefs, more left or more right or more centrist. So we research that part, and then after that we actually gathered the data. So let's say if we're talking about some issue, if it's a documentary, we actually go to official researches and we actually look the data. So we don't just go around and put some random data to manipulate opinion. We actually try to harvest the data from official sources, from statistics, from reputable research centers, whether it's political, whether it's economical. So we always try to build it on data. So once we have the data, and once we have once we know our demographic, we can precisely target that demographics.
Perfect. Sounds great. For a brief intro on that. Again, more for Vlad's work specifically, you can check out our market analysis section on the futureisnow.community. And I'd like to kick off the panel as we are joined now by Morvareed Salehpour of the Salehpour Consulting, Law Consulting. Morvareed, hi, how are you?
Hi, good to be here.
Great. Christopher Attard, the founder of Chris on Crypto, joining us. By the way, Morvareed is in LA, as I believe, and Christopher is all the way in Malta. So good morning to you, Christopher.
Good morning. How's it going, Miguel?
Thank you so much for making the time. How was the dinner?
I know it was amazing. Yeah, we had some amazing steak.
Awesome. And Toufi Saliba, the decentralized.
Hey guys.
Say the decentralized anarchist, the founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO of Totem Network, a very exciting protocol, is here with us. Our good friend Toufi, how are you?
Good. I'm not an anarchist.
You're not? Okay, fine. You're a.
No. I love all governments equally.
Awesome. So let's start the panel with and again I'm counting on the support from my colleagues here at the Future Is Now, Mark, Vlad, and Mark is here, yeah. Let's start with the overall.
I was wondering why you didn't introduce like Vlad and Mark, and I know both of them to be.
I already did.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Maybe
I just joined and I didn't really. Okay, got it.
Yes. No, you're a latecomer, but to an extent.
Cool.
No latency for the total protocol. So cool. We're going to talk about what it really takes in today's realities, in today's post-COVID market, to make sure that we are able to build a successful community for any particular disruptive tech business, to make it a proper disruptive tech project and business. And we have a plethora of experience with, from the legal side with Morvareed, Toufi from the technical development and sort of executive side, and then Chris with a plethora of development for actually conference exposés of many projects, and as well as market analysis and consulting for Chris on Crypto. So my first question would be to you, Toufi, as someone who is actually leading one of those particular, projects, if you will, really a protocol as complex as TODA. Please tell us a little bit about it, and tell us, what did you learn along the way that you can suggest to others out there that are maybe on the verge of creating something like that?
Well, I mean, you mentioned post-COVID, so I don't think anybody knows the answer to that, but I think we can try, and I'm assuming you mean COVID-19, not like COVID-21 or 29, because we don't know yet. We're in between.
I love it.
Right. So you and I had you've interviewed myself and Ben Gortzel at the very beginning of COVID-19, and I did say then that this reaction is extremely exaggerated, and it's in your videos. I did say then in your video that this cannot be more than 0.28, and now all the experts are saying that it is 0.28. Back then they were saying it's like 4 or 5, or we're talking about like the actual death rate or whatnot. So the reason why I'm saying that, not to brag, I read data for a living, and that's what any technologist should be doing. So I don't know a lot about other aspects. I don't know a lot about like the legal. I don't know a lot about finance. I actually suck about a lot of the operations aspects and so on and so forth. But I focus on a lot of the actual technical aspects. And I really think that if folks would need to focus more on their strengths and let others focus on their strengths and rely on others, more and more we're going in that direction. And remember, AI is going to replace a lot of the jobs. So the jobs that AI cannot replace yet is the one thing that you do better than everyone else, because it hasn't learned it yet. But if you do something just like everyone else, AI most likely have learned it from others. So that's why I really think they need to focus on that. So if you're building a business, I mean, I've built 15 businesses in my life and I failed 11 of them. I know what it takes to fail. I don't know what it takes to win. Right now, I'm building an ecosystem. It's a lot harder. In ecosystem, there are over 20 businesses. During COVID, we had 3 businesses collapse completely. We had to let go people, literally starving, that we can't do anything about it. Like, where do we bring the money from here to there and whatnot? And another company is getting 15x more valuation in 6 months. The disparity and the polarity of things is ginormous. We've never, ever seen in the history of humanity this much polarity. So I really think folks, they need to adapt very quickly and try to convert things to better of humanity, because I tell you, man, this reaction is wrong reaction. So if we dwell about it and say like, you know, why are they doing this? They shouldn't have locked us down. Look at my aunt died because of the lockdown. My other friend got committed suicide because of the lockdown. Then we lose. We lose, and we cannot lose. It's us that we can see a little bit of that future that the rest of the humanity rely on. So we need to turn this to our advantage. Everyone here in the panel, I've looked at each and every one of you, and I looked at some of the followers of this event. Believe me, you are the 1%. The rest of the world is relying on you. So you can't, by knowing and by being capable, feeling that it's someone else's job. No. It is your job. It is our job. So, so we'd better be extremely adaptive, look at the future, read the data, and not let the events like that turn things into the negative in the overall scheme of the game. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're not givers, if we're takers, we're here part-time. Each and every one of us, we come and go, but humanity is here to stay. So we'd better do something that can stay. I think you're speaking on mute. I can read lips for the rest of the audience.
Oh, sorry. Morvareed, I really wanted to bring you in, but because Toufi said all these interesting analogies in relation to building a proper project in COVID, I really wanted to take it to Chris right before, if you can pardon me for that, but Chris has been quite critical on the overall situation, and just as I have, in regards to really just having to shift a lot of our processes. Not just
I know Chris, by the way. I've met him in Malta. He's a phenomenal fellow. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
You forgot to mention one thing that he can do. He can manage like 20 different things in the same time. I don't know.
No, I said that he's the business developer and the manager.
Yeah.
The event
I'm just adding. Please go ahead, Chris.
Right, the event manager for the whole AIBC. before Chris on crypto. So that's also where we met. And Chris, you've been quite critical on this COVID issue. Again, similarly to me, just today I read your post. Great, yeah, unbelievable that Malta is really making mandatory masks after such a low curve. This whole, maybe 4 months now. What are your thoughts on some of the things that Toufi mentioned, and what would you suggest for the teams to look for right now for the communities to be able to build? Maybe you can take us more in depth into community building.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I agree with what Toufi said. We can't let this thing change our lives dramatically. But mostly, I think that there's a big lack of science and evidence-based decision-making, especially by the political classes. And this is a bit of a problem. There's a lot of hysteria going on, and I don't think that the data warrants that. In fact, you're seeing, the curves are just, they're just showing us that, listen, the death rate is going down, and cases are going up. Now they're testing more, so obviously you're going to get more cases. But then there's also a question of whether, just getting more cases means that, you're going to get higher deaths, and actually that's what's happening. And so you have these disparities in the data, and yet at the same time you have, massive impositions on the economy, and the hospitality industry is basically gone in the UK, and we seem to be taking these measures as well in Malta. And I didn't expect this to happen. And the data is very similar across Spain, Europe. I mean, all these things. And so I'm just very annoyed about this. I think I'm frustrated that people are. It's difficult to get the message through. And yes, with regards to building communities, I mean, obviously, this has changed things quite a lot. I think there's no denying that. So whether, even if the data is speaking to a different narrative, and that we are overreacting as countries, clearly fear is everywhere. And, the economies many economies have been decimated, and it's going to take a while to get back, right? So that's not something that's up for discussion, in my opinion. Like, you look at what's happening in, various central banks, Federal Reserve is doing the same thing, and they're just leading the way with quantitative easing and massive money printing. And that's because obviously they have to support the economy, because otherwise, if the US, they don't have money, people won't pay their bills, and it's just a cascading effect. And so now we have this massive shift, even more so than before, towards the online world. And I think that basically, if you're not online, this is not something that's it's not something new. But I think that it's even more important now that you are online, you have a presence. I've actually seen job applications for a memeologist, and I think that makes sense. People who actually generate memes, and this is where we're going. And I think that's kind of where we have to move to in terms of building a business.
So can I ask you more directly, and perhaps also a time constrained answer if you can, but what is happening in Malta is the digital, the blockchain island, really, considering COVID and all things. What are, from your experience, I know you know a lot of people, a lot of projects island-wide. What are the teams doing right now to regroup and divert and create new avenues for creating communities? Because again, it's not about the businesses, as our good friend Brock Pierce once said. It's about creating communities, and really that's where we come in. But that's why I want to ask you, from your perspective as a Maltese based futurist and technologist, especially in your line of work of consulting and market analytics and so forth, what are your contacts right now? What are they doing differently? And what would you suggest to the people watching, hopefully entrepreneurs out there, to follow?
Well, I mean, again, so in terms of, getting in touch. So for example, in the events business has obviously shifted completely online. And that's like, that's what for the most part, that's what people are doing, especially with regards to communities. So you do get, you get a lot, you still get events, although now that we have these new measures, I think that the events are going to probably taper off a little bit more. But at the same time, these measures didn't work in the UK, they didn't work in other places. So it's a bit up in the air at the moment. But what I do know is people are still talking. Telegram groups are still a big thing. And so you have these communities that are developing, and they keep on developing. And I don't think it's just in Malta. I think it's also it is the blockchain island, yes. But at the end of the day, we're in an ecosystem that is worldwide, and so you get a lot of people from all walks of life, and ultimately that's kind of where things are, right?
So let's now dive to Mark because we have some questions also for Morvareed, and I'd like to finish after Morvareed, hopefully with Toufi and yourself, Chris, contributing to the overall idea of the ingredients from legal to tech to perhaps digital, the digital presence, the marketing, and so forth that are important to have and harvest right now for companies to succeed, especially with this exerting pressure that we're getting right now from big tech, from big data, from the SEC, the CFTC. I mean, the cases are there, it's visible. And Mark, I pass the reins to you.
So before I ask a question, I just want to make a comment. I love what everybody says, but let's remember, again, the manual to be number one doesn't exist. You got to make it. Yes, there's COVID. If Trump comes in or Sleepy Joe or whoever, it doesn't matter. You got to keep moving forward. Action ignites it. And this is where everybody is not adapting and is crying and wooing. Who cares? Move forward, create something valuable, And my question for legal is, okay, now here's the deal. A lot of times I want to build a company. So they tell me, find a technical founder. That's what's the most important thing. You need the idea and you need that. But when do you need legal counsel? When should you get them? And then are there pitfalls? Because everybody thinks, oh, I don't need legal. Oh, no, I'm being sued. Now I need legal. When should you get legal as a founder or somebody emerging in the space? And some legal pitfalls and some misconceptions.
Yeah, sure. So as a founder in the space, particularly if you're working in an emerging space, there is a lot of kind of complication with this. And there's a lot of potential gray. So you have to find that appropriate balance of kind of balancing legal risk and the business interest. And this is why you need to engage with a lawyer as early as possible. And I'll give you a specific example of this. So I was talking to a guy last year, and he had spent about 1.5 years, 2 years building out his business, and he had built out a prototype. He had hired consultants and spent the money on that. And when he come and spoke to me, the first thing I told him was, your business model is illegal. And he, decided at that point he was going to shutter his business because it was going to cost too much to try to reformat it and all of that. But if he had come to me at the very beginning where he was still formulating his business plan, I could have given him that feedback before he invested the time, the money in building out that business that actually didn't have anywhere to go unless it was substantially adjusted. So these are important discussions, particularly in emerging spaces where there are a lot of kind of difficult regulations and laws that may apply, that you need to be having these discussions with an attorney as early as possible, because you can get feedback on the business plan and adjust so you're not working to build something that's going to have big liabilities. So I'm a big advocate. Get those discussions started early. Get the advice early, because it's always cheaper on the front end than when things have gone wrong. And in terms of pitfalls, that's example of one pitfall that's very common in the emerging space. Another pitfall is the decision for founders to cut corners relating to their contracts. And so there is so many founder disputes, for example, that I've seen because people haven't put the right agreements in place with their co-founders. And I can give a specific example of that as well. So I had a client who had worked with someone, and this wasn't even a co-founder situation. So my client had worked with someone who was really an independent contractor. He had decided not to spend, the couple of thousand it may have taken to put the right agreements in place. And he had worked with this guy for over a decade. Things have been going okay. Then, the recession hit. It wasn't going so well anymore. A couple of years later, they decided to kind of break apart because things weren't going well. The independent contractor ran off with the one valuable property of the business, several $100,000 worth. My client decided to say, you know what? I'm going to take it as a lost cause. I'm just going to move on, start a new project. He started a new project. In a year and a half, he's making millions of dollars in revenue. Guess what? Independent contractor comes out of the woodwork and says, you know what? I'm your partner. And I was your partner for the last, over the decade. And everything you're working on and you'll ever work on is half mine forever and ever and ever. So now we're in court. It's being litigated, literally spending hundreds of thousands of dollars litigating this, settled on the eve of trial. But all of this could have been avoided by having the contract in place on the very front end. And that wasn't even really a founder dispute, but that guy had turned it into a founder dispute. So these are situations where the founder agreements, whatever contract that you're using with, for example, if your business has customers, whether it be a B2B or B2C, important to have that agreement drafted by an attorney so it's strong. You have the right responsibilities and liabilities for all the parties involved. So you're not agreeing to things that you don't want. In particular, if you're in an emerging space, like I deal with clients in AI and analytics, provisions regarding data and intellectual property have to be very carefully drafted. So you actually own what you're doing and you're actually able to use data. Terms of service, privacy policies, all these are very important to be drafted well. So you're not opening yourself up to unintentional liability.
May I jump in here? Because I love what you're saying. May I jump in quickly on the last thing that you said, the contract?
Yeah, but let me finish?
Sure. Okay.
So you make sure you're limiting your liabilities. You're able to grow. And it also allows you to get investment because investors are going to do due diligence. And no investor is looking to take on a business that has no contracts, there's liabilities everywhere, there's potential disputes. That's not a moneymaker for them.
Yeah, I actually concur on two things that you've said, and possibly more that I wouldn't know much, but the two things that getting a legal representation as early as possible is the best thing that you could do. In many of the law firms, if you are able to demonstrate the value of your business, the law firms that I know, they kind of become your partner early on. And then they say, it's like, okay, well, we're going to defer some of like $30,000 of legal billables until the financing comes in. And most of the reputable investors, they already know that. They actually invest in your company knowing that there's about $50,000 going to go to legal. They'd rather spend that $50,000 on things that happened in the past rather than having to deal with like some cap table that is done in the East. Or sorry, I don't mean to criticize the East. It's, East Coast and West Coast. That's what I'm talking about. It's and it's effectively, it makes it a lot easier for the company to operate. Now, on a contract thing, yes, it's great to have the contract tied in properly, and I think I've done that mistake many times in the past, and I've learned from my mistakes. But what I feel that I'm learning now, which is something that a lot of folks that are much more seasoned than myself, that they're teaching me, is that the contract says certain things. So for example, that example that you've just stated between the two people, if the contract prohibited that other person from coming in and asking for that company, sure, it would have worked. But I think what works phenomenally well, which I'm learning right now, and I really, really encourage everyone to learn that, is when you understand the possibilities of those contracts and share that with the contractor. Because I've seen people that they have done certain part of the contract to some company, and they're trying to do some other part that the company collapsed mainly because of their work, or maybe not. And then they come in and try to sue the founders of the company for like money, whatever. Like it doesn't work like that. There's a contract with that company. You're taking the risk with that company. If you want to come in when that specific company is collapsed, you cannot go in perpetuity. So it would have been better if founders and contractors, they have that understanding, and not only written in a contract. It would have alleviated like a lot of the he said, she said type of thing.
Well, and that's the purpose of the contract. It's their understanding of the parties, so that when you get to court, it doesn't become like it happened to my client. It's not a he said, she said. It's clear it was a kind of independent contractor relationship, not a partnership. So that's
I'm confirming, in addition to that, is having that additional understanding, because most people, they don't read the details. I've been working with entrepreneurs and contractors all my life, and I'm telling you that contract can give you protection. That contract gave me protection many, many times, but the people, they're not understanding those things. They're like, oh, how come you connect me with that founder? And that founder didn't pay me. I'm like, when I talked to that founder, they paid you to the last minute that they had funds in their company, and you cannot go after them kind of, in perpetuity. That, those kind of things, that if that contractor understood those things, they wouldn't even have thought of even talking those kind of things. You see what I mean? It's more like...
Well, I mean, that's why legal counsel is important. Like, once you have legal counsel to review these contracts, you're not going to assert things that make no sense. That's why it's important where you are on the kind of tech side founder, you need to be doing this. Whether you're a business, both sides should be kind of seeking representation and making sure they understand anything they're signing. And the other thing I'd like to point out in terms of be careful with those kind of firms that say they'll defer fees, because those are generally big firms and they don't make a lot of sense for smaller like startups, because their fees are a lot higher than what it would take to kind of work with a smaller practice. So they may be like deferring it, but it's actually going to be a lot more expensive than you paid less and put that like on a credit card and work with a small firm. That's actually a much better deal than deferring these fees at a much higher rate.
Lots of very interesting legal counsel here, and I'm glad that we have this iteration, because one of our plans at the Future Is Now is to bring in that legal side to the part of our 5-pillar process, and I'd like to truly thank everybody for participating. Unfortunately,
before you finish, I think Gordon is asking a question, and Vlad was
asking I'm running the show today, and I was giving you guys as much time as possible.
Yeah,
but Miguel's doing a great job, so I wasn't speaking. So Miguel, go ahead.
So I just want to make that last announcement, as I promised, that world announcement, is that here in Los Angeles, we finally got a distribution contract with one of the distributors that was responsible for the #1 Netflix show that ran in July 2020, Down to Earth with Zac Efron, and we are producing a film set for 2021 with technology decentralization, disruption of this paradigm, this dogmatic world that we have going away.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So I just wanted to make that announcement that we are out there and we're hungry for interesting stories and companies to take part in that endeavor. I want to thank all my guests again, Morvareed Salehpour of Salehpour Legal Consulting, Toufi Saliba of Toda Network, Christopher Attard.
Thanks, Miguel. Can I interrupt quickly? I see 165 people watching, and you've just made some phenomenal announcement. Can we please ask the folks that they are online now to hit the like button to say congratulations to Miguel on your YouTube? Please hit the like.
Wow, you guys really are marketers.
In my life,
you're experts.
Ask anyone to hit the like. I don't have any business relationship with Miguel.
We've done several visual brandings with Toda Network, and it's been a great process to work with such an inspiring innovator as Toufi. And I do urge everyone watching to check out Toda Network. It's a very, very exciting endeavor as well.
It doesn't have any token or coin or anything like that, by the way. We don't have anything like that.
By the way,
Miguel, I love you, but we got to go to the next panel. I'm sorry. Morvareed, I love your comment about big firms deferring fees. That is completely true. You and I are colleagues. You're 100% on. I thought that was one of the best comments I've heard from anyone. So, we should circle, but that was right on point. You gotta watch for the deferred fees from the big ones, because you're like, oh, I'm doing so well, and then later on you're like, oh wait, I owe that, and it can actually mess up your cap table. So I thought this
is when two blockchain players meet at a conference. I love it. So,
anyways, guys, I gotta. Good to see you, Christopher. It's been a long time. I miss Malta. Mark, you're my friend. Toufi, nice to meet you. Vladislav, my son's name is Vladislav.
Good to see you, Mark, Vlad, everyone. Morvareed, nice to meet you.
Vladislav. Okay, guys. All right, guys, time for you to exit Zoom so we can let on Brad Yasser and Enzo Villani, also your friends.
Yeah, so Brad, woo!
Brad's coming.